Welcome to Freed on Business. He grew up in South Florida, has been in business here since the early 90s, and has closed over $3 billion in deals. He's seen it all. He always has an opinion, and he's always ready to share it. Informed, entertaining, and connected, he has his finger on the pulse of South Florida's business community. He's Jim Freed, and this is Freed on Business.
Well, welcome to another great edition of Freed on Business. We've got our old friend Manny Johnson here. Manny has been involved in the cannabis industry from the very start. We'll talk about why he got involved, what's been going on since the beginning of his involvement in the cannabis industry, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the controversies that surround the cannabis industry today. We want to thank our sponsors, Warren Henry Automotive. Just got my wife a brand new QX60 from them. They dropped it off. They treated me like gold. I want to thank our salesperson, Sebastian, and the head of sales, Ismet, for really making it a painless process. It was tremendous. It was wonderful. We really look. Oh, and Brandon, the F&I guy. Thank you so much to Brandon as well. So we had a great experience again at Warren Henry. Remember, if you're looking to buy a car, you want to get every advantage that you can. That's why you have to check out Warren Henry, a Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, and Lincoln up at 151st and Biscayne. They've got a great new Land Rover, Range Rover store in West Broward, adjacent to the Lamborghini store. Another one in South Dade. They sell they sell Audis in Gainesville. Down in the Keys, they sell everything, and they're all great cars. Now, on with the show. Where's Manny Johnson? There he is.
Manny Johnson is in Winter Park, Florida, and he's a very happy guy today.
That's tremendous. Welcome back to the show, Manny.
Hey, Jim, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
Now, I know that you were a filmmaker a number of years ago. You decided that you wanted to make a short film about the unbelievable impact that CBD had on the young lady Charlotte. That led you to get involved with the cannabis scene in Colorado and eventually across the country and actually, I guess, across the globe. And Manny, we now have a chance to look back at the medical marijuana industry in Florida and the rest of the country. And I know you have some ideas on that. So I really kind of want to let you go free range a little bit over this. Talk about what's really going on in the medical cannabis space, because some of the things that you foreshadowed on our episodes years ago is really happening today.
Well, thank you, Jim, and I appreciate your allowing me to come on and hopefully educate. If we can change one person's life because of this meeting today, then we've had the best day of our lives.
I believe you're correct, Manny. And
I just want to try to get, somehow, some way, we've got to get past this window of we got so many different states that are all independent. We've got a federal government that is not making decisions that are, that's moving fast enough. And this industry moves so quickly, and there's so many different things happening. I would tell you that, with this industry, what we need is we need proper testing. Okay. These products need to be safe for human consumption. Okay. If they're not safe for human consumption, we're in trouble. And I've read a lot of articles, scientific articles that dig really, really deep into deaths. Okay. And I don't believe that marijuana, the plant marijuana, I don't believe that it has killed anyone at this point. I believe it could aid to it if people have heart disease, things of that nature, and they get intoxicated and they get to where, I know there are studies that people have died from overdoses with their heart. I also know that there are so many contaminants on it. Heavy metals, fungi, pesticides, anything that's used to grow usually has a heavy metal attached to it. And one thing about cannabis, which is hemp and marijuana. They are bioremediation plants. They pull up everything from the soil that they're exposed to. The soil can be the ground, but it can also be the growing medium that they're in. Cocoa coir, water, whatever you're growing it in, it needs to be sterile or clean. And you also need to be doing it in a clean room. You know how many employees have workers' comp problems because they're working around marijuana? It's incredible. But see, that doesn't hit the newspapers.
So, Manny, let's take a step back for a minute.
Okay.
Not only is there a impurity problem, but there's also a product strength problem. I know that if I recall correctly, that I don't think that the plant of cannabis can physically, or at this point, be cultivated at a level above like 28% THC. But when you go and you look on the medical cannabis derivatives that they sell, they're selling stuff that's 80, 85, 90% THC. And I've got to believe that we don't really know what impact that has on the brain and the body yet.
Well, Jim, that's a major, major concern to me, and obviously to you, and it should be to the people that are using it, because we know that years ago when this thing started, years ago, and I don't want to go through all the history because I can go all the way back to 1998 in California when I was at UCLA Film School. I can talk about the growers that I ran into, and I'm a third generation farmer. I'm a professional nurseryman in the state of Florida. I had a nursery here for 30 years. I grew that nursery to where my clients were some of the largest. They were some of the largest companies in the United States or the world. And I was on 3 different continents because I was supplying them. So, I had to keep 35,000 clients happy. And I did. Okay. And I also learned I was a pesticide applicator in the state of Florida. I got my pesticide license. What I loved about the state of Florida at that time was that I would have the USDA would come by and they would check me once a month because I was shipping out of state. And if you ship a plant out of state, you've got to have that USDA stamp on it that says that it's clear to ship. Okay, so they would come out unexpected. I had no idea when they were coming. They'd grab plants from various parts of the nursery. They would send it to the University of Florida's lab, have it tested. And then they would, they could close the gates. If I had illegal substances on it, buddy, they would close the gates. And I knew it. Okay, so I kept everything locked up. I was in charge of it. I had one person under me that was in charge of it when I wasn't there. And then the state would come by and do the same thing. But here's the irony of all this. The state had certain things you had to spray with that were anti-USDA. So you had this battle as to, which one am I going to do? Because I needed the state stamp as badly as I needed the organic stamp. So I learned to deal with that. But my most important thing were my employees. I sure as heck did not want my employees around something like Roundup. I know if you remember Roundup, when it first came out, it was 1 part per million. Okay, and it was the greatest thing in the world. You just spray that and your weeds are dead. And I thought, wow, it's killing all the weeds here. My grandfather used to grow organically, and so did my great-grandfather, because they didn't have pesticides. They didn't have heavy metal fertilizers. I learned to grow from them. So when I started seeing all like Roundup, 1 part per million. Okay. Do you realize now that it's 1 part per 100 trillion? Big difference, Jim. Big difference. And yet I'm going to put my employees around them. A lot of them were women. It doesn't matter whether they're women or men, but women are going to have kids. And I'm going to expose them to that? Bullshit. Not doing it.
let's take a step back, Manny, because I think we're a little bit off topic here. Going back to it. So what your real point is that the people that are out there today growing this medical cannabis are still using pesticides, they're still using fertilizer. It's not necessarily organic, and this creates an incredible public health situation. Is that basically where we're at on this?
Well, it's not only the cultivating of it and the growing and cultivating parts, it's also the processing of it. Whether
Storage.
it's processed into flour, whether it's processed into and then the storage of it, mold and mildew. We're talking storage. Okay. And aspergillus, people are dying from smoking that. Definitely. I've got the studies to show you.
What is that? Aspergillus. What is that? What do you mean?
It's a fungi. And I mean, there have been people all over the country. It's not just in one state. There's been people all over the country that are medical marijuana card holders in their state, and they had like colon cancer or prostate cancer, and their doctors gave them a medical card to get medical marijuana to smoke to reduce some of the chemotherapy effects, and they ended up dying from, guess what? Aspergillus in the lung infections.
Wow.
And those are scientifically documented. That's the real deal.
So anecdotally, when I was in college and somebody would, defrost their marijuana and it would get all kinds of mold over it, they said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's just go dry it out." Well, Manny, it sounds to me like that was a real health issue.
Well, it certainly was. But the idea, too, is now look at it. You're growing this stuff, and some of these fields are the size of a football field that they're cultivating in. So there is absolutely no way a person or a couple of people, and nobody wants to pay properly to get a professional cultivator. They want to, they're trying to save money. So, people are changing jobs very quickly. It's just like every other industry. People are not being trained properly. And, everything goes back to this idea of, when you send it off for testing, you send a batch. A batch is a harvest. You send that off for testing. Okay. It's tested for certain things, but it's not tested for everything. If we're going to make this safe for human consumption, guess what's going to happen? That little thing that we're not testing for all the time, it's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's going to become the plethora, the problem, the plague of the next generation of plants. And that's what scares me. It's this aspergillus is, wow, there's a lot of articles about deaths, people smoking that.
Now, Manny, let's take a break. I'm tipping off Mr. Mendoza. We're going to take a break. And then I want to talk about things that you'd like to see that could help the medical cannabis industry do better. And I really would like to start with the theory of, is this really medicine? And if it is, how are we treating it? So hold that thought, Manny, and then we'll get right back with Manny Johnson, the director of MJ Biz Consultants. He consults with all of the big regulators. Can't really mention who they are, but I guess you can kind of guess. We'll be right back after this. Mr. Mendoza, it's your time now. It's amazing how long ago that was. It's so great to be a fan of that culture and that organization. It's a great example for all of us. Another great example is our folks at Warren Henry. I want to thank Ismet and Sebastian, who helped my wife and I get our brand new Infiniti QX60 this weekend. What an amazing car. I absolutely love it. I drive a Q70 that I got at Warren Henry. It's the last of its generation, and I'm very excited to own what's already an instant classic car. My friends at Warren Henry help me keep it maintained all the time. And Maytel Stark got a promotion. So now, hold on. So now my new service advisor is Gerald. So we're going to, oh, there it is, Gerald. So we're going to talk to Gerald. There's Sebastian right there. Thank you so much to Sebastian. Got it there. And I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry. They made sure we got a great price. They made sure we were satisfied. Sebastian drove the car down. We didn't even need to go to the dealership. So it was a great experience. If you're looking to buy or lease a car, you want to get every advantage that you can, and you want to get a great experience, I recommend Warren Henry. We've been clients there for closing in on 30 years now. Larry, when I first met Larry, he was the F&I guy. Now the next gen is doing F&I with Brandon. So it's great. They're keeping it in the family. It's a wonderful experience. We've had such a great experience with them. They take good care of us. So I want to remind everybody, when you're looking to buy or lease a car, check out Warren Henry. Land Rover, Range Rover, Infiniti, Jaguar, Lincoln up at 151st and Biscayne. Up in Gainesville, they sell Audis. They've got a new Land Rover, Range Rover store out in West Broward, and they've got another one in South Dade. Down in the Keys, they sell all the great nameplates. They're all great cars. They all come with the Warren Henry advantage. Join me, my wife, my mom, lots and lots of my clients. We're all members of the Warren Henry family. You should be too. Always the best price, always the best service, always Warren Henry. And I want to remind everybody that I'm Jim Freed. I'm the founder of Sandstone Realty Advisors. We consult with real estate operating companies throughout the country. We help them deploy capital. We help people buy land, sell land, structure their transactions. And now we're working with some very special clients to do some very interesting things in the private equity sector as well. Reach out to me, DM me. Remember, my brand is that I feel great whenever I help you achieve your dreams and goals. I do that by helping you solve problems and bringing you peace of mind. And remember, whenever you call me, it's always all about you.
Welcome back to Freed on Business. Connect with us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at Jim Freed or at Freed on Business, and on Instagram at Jim Freed1. Now, back to your host, Jim Freed.
Well, we're on with one of my favorite people and favorite guests, Manny Johnson. Manny has consulted with many of the different governmental organizations across the country, all the way up to the federal level, on the cannabis and medical marijuana laws across the country. We're talking about the safety of medical marijuana. Welcome back, Manny Johnson.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
Now, I mentioned something that I think is part of the problem, and that's the fact that there is no law at the federal level that talks about this. It's just everybody averting their eyes as this industry continues to evolve in a way that may not be the best for the public. Manny, how close are we to getting an overall federal oversight of this industry by either the FDA or the FTC or somebody?
Well, the DEA has been very, very adamant that it's in charge. So it's going to be the the DEA that is going to come out with, the rules and the decisions and things of that nature. I'm trying not to be biased, and I'm trying not to make political statements because I don't want to, in a perfect world, we would make this thing federally legal and we'd send off all of our tests to the University of Florida, Florida State, Florida A&M, University of Miami, because they've got millions and millions of dollars of equipment in labs, and they've got a multitude of PhDs that are there that know how to do cannabis analysis down to the T, and they've also got a broad range of students who are looking to get into this industry because this will be an industry for them to go into.
Manny, so if that's what should happen, what's happening now?
Right now, we are in the middle. We're like in the middle. It's legal in the state, but it's federally illegal. Okay, so it's like the universities they had a lot bigger reason not to get involved 3 years ago, 4 years ago, because they were saying, oh, we're worried about our federal grant money being taken away. We don't want to have it, do testing on it, things of that nature. Well, there are certain schools now, like, University of South Florida is doing some studies on it, and the Cancer Institute that's world famous. I mean, they're doing research on it, and I know there are other schools. There's a school of nursing that just came out with a great study that, if people read, they're going to find that I can give you a little bit of an abstract on it. There's a total of 386, and these are people that have died, okay, in Florida that their deaths were associated with cannabinoids and synthetic cannabinoid use.
Well, hold on a second.
Now,
hold on a second, because you're including quote unquote synthetic cannabinoid. Is that like the stuff they sell at 7-Eleven? That's the fake marijuana?
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a horror story to me, because that stuff, there's no telling where it comes from. Well, I know where it comes. It comes a lot from China.
It's catnip.
It's dangerous.
It's
highly dangerous.
Unbelievable. And these young people get a hold of it because they can.
Well, I've got a paper in front of me that I've been researching because I was asked to from some government people, and it was January 12th, 2023. Virginia mom pleads guilty in 4-year-old son's death from THC gummies. That's marijuana gummies. He ate too many of them, and he had a heart problem. He died. Okay, she got arrested. She's being charged with manslaughter.
Well, it's like leaving a loaded gun in the house.
And you've got a situation where this will kind of hit home a little bit. South Florida children overdosing on THC edibles is stirring a great deal of controversy. That is February 6th, 2024.
Now, Manny, I read the thing that prompted me to reach out to you was an article in last week's Wall Street Journal where this issue finally made it into the Wall Street Journal. Tell us a little bit about the issues that article pointed out.
Well, the biggest problems that are the good things that it pointed out is that there's some organizations like Americans for Safe Access. It's a great organization. It's doing the best that it can do to lobby. Okay. Lobbying is a hard thing to do. It's a very, very difficult thing to do, because I don't know if people are really looking to give you the right answers, or they're looking at something that's going to get them votes. And that's what
we know the answer. They're looking to get votes. They're politicians.
Yeah.
They're only about getting votes.
And, it goes back to that issue of, if you have a thriving, marijuana business, and let's say it's called medical marijuana, which if it was medical marijuana, it'd be being sold in pharmacies.
Right. And it would have a totally different level of testing and monitoring also.
Positive.
I mean, this is not even a nutraceutical.
That's my problem, is the fact that it's not studied enough, and it's not studied enough to see if there's going to be drug interactions.
Manny, you go into these dispensaries, air quotes. You talk to I don't know what they call them. I'll have to call them the barista. And that person's supposed to know what to use for insomnia versus convulsions. How are they going to know?
Well, Jim, most of them have not worked there very long. Okay. And they're not educated into this field. And, this really irritates me, the fact that when you walk in a Florida dispensary, and buddy, I've been in over 130 of them, and most of them in the last 6 weeks, because I'm doing a study on that myself. I walk in and I don't see any lights outside. I don't see any facial recognition cameras. I don't see any lights on the back of it where they're getting their deliveries. It's where the crimes can occur and be filmed. And then there isn't a room in the dispensary for you to go in and get medical advice.
Hey, listen, when I go to the pharmacy, and these are supposed to be treated just like pharmacies according to the law, when I go into a pharmacy, they have a pharmacist, usually with the prefix doctor whatever. Real doctor, real pharmacy, went to
Yes.
a real school. This isn't even a compound pharmacy where they're creating stuff. This is just the pharmacy where they're just dispensing. And that pharmacist can save your life by making sure you're getting the right thing and not getting the wrong thing. I mean, with the cannabis stuff, even the fact that one kind indica maybe makes you more mellow, sativa maybe makes you more active. I don't even know. What does that really mean? Is one going to get me paranoid? I don't even know. And there's no test or study on any of these brands, on any of these verticals, on any of these, I don't know what you call them, selections, major banana brand. I don't know what to even call them, So how do you know what to do? And I can guarantee you anybody that's using this is just plain experimenting, even if they've got the best doctor guidance from people like Dr. Michelle.
Well, what worries me too with that, I can add a few things, is the idea that you walk in there and they're going to sell you what they've got. What do they have in inventory? Oh, this will be perfect for you. Whatever is in inventory for you. And that's a problem. And then you look at the certificate of analysis, the COA, and you look at it and it's almost a year old. And you're going, wow, I know this is not from a year ago. Not a chance.
Well, not only that, Manny, then the next question is, how should you ingest it? Should you put it in food with the drops? Should you take pills? If it says, give it 2 hours to work, when do I know it's working? What does working mean? Is it really 2 hours? I mean, how do I take it under my tongue, on top of my tongue, in chocolate milk? I don't even know. And there's absolutely no standardized guidance whatsoever. And how do you even know what the right dosage is for yourself?
Well, that's the whole point, is that there isn't anybody there who can talk you through all those questions. And then there isn't any,
not
there
at
needs
the place. You should be talking to your doctor about it, and your doctor should be able to, your cannabis specialized doctor should be able to guide you. I know that Vivian's talked to Dr. Michelle Spell. I know that we've talked to Dr. Michelle specifically about getting different things and what's good for this and good for that. And I've got to believe that there are knowledgeable people in the industry, Manny, but just not the people that are behind the counter at the dispensary.
Well, and a lot of your doctors that are doing the medical card deal, that's what they're doing, is the medical card deal. They're not sitting there giving you a lot of advice. They're just giving you a card with they can't even call it a prescription, but it's an order to be able to go into those facilities and pick out what you want, how many, they give you limits on how much you can get, and then, like I said, they've got products that are coming out all the time. Nobody ever dreamed of vapes in the 90 percentiles when I started off in this. Nobody had any clue that you were going to get marijuana at 28%. And, we don't have a generation of people that have done this. We don't have 5 years of data, but we do have people like this nursing school at Florida Atlantic University with 386 deaths that people were high when they died. Wow. Okay. What were they high on? It varies. It was all, they had marijuana in their system, but were they drinking with it? Were they, I would say probably they were. And then they were driving, okay, or whatever they were doing, or they had a heart attack, whatever that is. We can have a meeting or we can have a discussion one day about scientific studies about just Aspergillus, for example. And we can go through the whole country and see deaths. Okay, so people need to be concerned.
So, Manny, we're kind of at the end here. What is your recommendation going forward?
My recommendation forward is that the public needs to be as educated as they possibly can be as to what they're putting in their mouth or their lungs. Think about how fragile your lungs are, and you're smoking something. I don't think that's a great idea, but that's just me. But I think most pulmonologists are going to tell you smoking's not good of anything. Even if you're in a smog city, that's not good for you. But the deal is it's also like with your food. If you look at it, your food is the medicine that you're putting in your body to fuel it every day. So how is cannabis products, marijuana and hemp, marijuana primarily is what we're talking about here, but hemp seems to slide in a lot. But marijuana is what we're talking about. How does that react with high blood pressure medications, with congestive heart failure medications, with your cancer medication, with how is it reacting with people?
And we just don't know.
A pharmacist is the person who would be answering those types of questions, and they're not going to do it right now.
Well, Manny, I want to thank you so much for being here and pointing out the dangers of the medical marijuana, medical cannabis. Is there like a website or a place where people can go to get more information on this stuff?
I will have a website up, but I'm not trying to just push my website up. I can, it's hard to find a lot of these articles because they're hidden, so to speak, because there's so much advertising going on the internet about marijuana. Okay. When you're advertising and paying for positive stuff, it's hard to get negative stuff out there.
Well, I'm not
trying to get negative stuff.
I know what they're doing with this stuff. I know how they're obscuring it off the web, but that's a topic for a different show. Manny, I want to thank you so much for being here and providing us the ability to create this public service announcement. I truly appreciate it. You're a wonderful friend of not only myself and Mr. Mendoza, but of humanity itself. I will stick with us. We'll talk in the green room after I wrap up the show. Okay.
Sounds like a winner, buddy.
All right. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I want to thank our friends at Warren Henry Automotive for being our sponsors for well over a decade. I want to remind everybody that I just got my wife a brand new QX60 at Warren Henry. Go over there. They've got great prices. They've got great vehicles, and they treat you like family. We've been doing business with them for 30 plus years. I want to thank Sebastian for helping me out with my car this weekend. I want to thank him so much. I'm going to give him a call right now when we're off the show. I want to thank Larry, Warren, Eric. I want to thank Brandon and the whole team over there that made us feel like we were solid gold. And remember, we drop a new podcast every Wednesday at noon. We do it. We're across all the different multimedia platforms. Reach out to me. We'll do it again next week because I just love doing this. And remember, and when I'll be going to the University of Florida Center for Real Estate Studies conference tomorrow. That's right. There they are. They sponsor the show too. So perhaps we can get some good content from the folks up there for next week's show. In any event, remember, the person who wants to do something finds a way. The other finds an excuse. Now go out there and make it happen. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Mr. Mendoza, it's yours.